Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Pyreside Chat, the show in which we dive into the wonderful creators of the game you know as Immortal Gates of Pyre. I am Tempo, joined by this might take a bit, okay, guys. The creator of the SC2 mod Starbow and design extraordinaire. He goes by Ziphius, aka Toaster, aka Sandwich, aka Insert Norse God, but we know and love him as Joakim. What's going on, bud?
I'm doing good. Sorry, I did not create Starbow. I continued to develop Starbow. I didn't
Oh,
create it, but it's okay. It's okay. Just want to make sure the actual creator I don't take any credit for that.
very humble too. Very humble too.
Yeah. But thank you for that wonderful introduction. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh man. So it's so good to have you, man. Because I mean, I've been familiar with you for quite some time, being a StarCraft 2 guy myself, and also a pretty big Beastie Cutie fan, right? Back when he did pretty much take that game and just become a god at it.
Yeah.
But it's not about Beastie Cutie, okay? It's not even about me, man. It's about you. It is about you, and we're gonna be getting to know this guy a little bit better. One of the more recent additions to the SunSpear team. So I'm very excited to actually dive into this. But before we do get started, I do want to remind people, y'all that are here in the Twitch chat, y'all that are here watching on YouTube, and perhaps who knows where, there is the Immortal Alpha Trials happening next week. It is going to be on Saturday, on the 12th, and we're going to be giving away some pretty cool things, including a keyboard just for signing up. So if you want to sign up for the tournament, you will have a chance to actually win a keyboard. Or I believe it's a headset for the signups, and then a keyboard for the Twitter. If you go to the actual Twitter, and that's going to be at SunSpear Games, or I believe it's Gates of Pyre that has the actual one. But all those links will be in the chat, so definitely check those out. And as usual, we always do giveaways for the actual game itself. So if you type in exclamation raffle in chat, you will have a chance to be a play tester and enjoyer of beautiful games. So yeah, definitely hit that up. But yeah, figured we'd get that out of the way before we get to the meat and potatoes about this guy right here. Joachim, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, right? As far as where you're from, have heard you come from a very far land, at least to me.
Yeah, the land abroad up north. Yeah, no, I am from Norway and I'm I'm still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, when people say that it's like, but now I live no, but now I live in Norway. No, but um, I'm from a town called Kongsberg, but Kings Mountain, I guess it translates to.
Oh, okay.
Bunch of silver mines there. That's why it's called that. But yeah, it's not super exciting. But it's on one side of the capital, and now I live on the other side of the capital because this is where my wife is from. So
Oh, nice.
uh, yeah, yeah,
So I mean, were you born there too?
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So stayed around the same area from where I lived. I did spend a couple of years in California, but I've lived in Norway most of my life. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, I know in Europe in general, you actually have a lot of access to some easy public transportation in order to get from location to location. Do you ever find yourself like exploring other European countries or even, traveling to other places aside from the Sunshine State?
I do, but it's more because I've been like on different trips. Like when I was when we went to middle school, we went to Poland to visit the concentration camps. That's a
Ooh,
sombering trip, but it's an important trip to take.
yeah.
And then when I was in high school, we went to the Czech Republic to do some. This was with chemistry, so we did some like analysis of the soil and how the coal power plants affected the environment and things like that. But I'm not huge into traveling like on my own. It's more my family that's like, hey, we need to go somewhere this summer. It's like, yeah, I guess I'll tag along.
I was gonna say, as far
So
as family, yeah. Are you? Do
yeah, yeah.
you have any siblings?
Oh yeah, a bunch. I big family. I have 5 siblings. Um, they are all either in real subjects or music. I have a master's degree in
Hey, wait,
mathematics.
what is that supposed to mean?
Did you say in real subjects or music?
Oh, okay. This is
I'm just
a
kidding.
this is a trans. Okay, this is actually funny because this is a translational thing. I didn't mean. Okay, so in Norwegian, the sciences is like put together is called real subjects. So it doesn't mean that they're any more real than other subjects. It's just a name
And
for
I'm just
them.
giving you crap.
Yeah, yeah. No, but that's fine. It is a funny mistranslation though. But yeah, no. So I've studied math. I have a brother who has a master's in statistics and probability, and then the rest of my siblings have musical majors, except for my one of my brothers who's a police officer. So
Wow.
he's the black sheep of the family. But
Right? I know, right? Isn't that like ironic?
he did something that wasn't music or science.
Or
Like, well,
science.
how dare he? But yeah. So yeah, big happy family, mostly brothers, one sister. So
And out of all of them, are you in the middle, the youngest, the oldest?
yeah, pretty much in the middle. It's impossible to be in the middle when they're six, but I have
Right.
two younger and three older. Yeah.
That's the math side of you coming out, man. He knows it. He knows his stuff, right?
Yeah. Actually, when there's a even number of siblings, you can't have a middle. No,
Unless you're
okay.
Siamese, right? There could be,
Oh yeah,
but.
crap! I didn't think about that.
Oh man, well that's pretty cool though. As far as school, like you said, mostly math for the most part.
Yeah,
Um,
it's actually a little interesting because when I was young, I've always done well in math. Not like a genius of any by any means, but like
I
doing
beg to
okay,
differ.
getting some B's and an A here and there. Like, hey, I'm doing okay in math, kind of thing. But I never really liked it that much. And then I spent 2 years in California after high school, and when I came back, I actually wanted to study chemistry, and then I kind of realized I wanted to be a teacher. So I was like, oh, maybe I should teach chemistry and I need a second subject, maybe math. And then when I actually went to university to start studying chemistry and math, I realized that math is way more fun than chemistry. And I actually ended up switching out chemistry with English because you need two subjects when you're teaching. So I
Ah.
studied. I shouldn't have said that because I do tell people that if I say something wrong, like English is my second language, and
Yeah,
now
you
we
just
just
just never admit that you studied English at all, right? Where you're
no,
just
yeah,
like,
I know, but I actually
yeah.
have a year of English at university, so it's not like yeah, and yeah, so but it's mostly math that it was math and then a little bit of like how to crap what's that called in English? You know how to teach however that
Um,
we call it pedagogy here, but I don't know if that's the right
I think we just
um
call it how to teach in English, or at least in America. That's what we do in America. We're just like the what is your major? Like the how to
di-
teach major. Yeah.
didactics, I guess it is, but
Oh,
yeah, something
that's
like
that
that.
English. Well, I mean, geez, yeah, you definitely a man of many different interests and talents. And I wonder if it has to do with your addiction to creating many different names for yourself, right? What's you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, sure. So actually, let's go back. It goes back to the same time. So when I was in high school, this is also when I think I discovered StarCraft before high school. I think I was 13 when I bought Brood War. It was 1998. It was the same year it came out. I
Okay.
started playing, but it took a while before I actually gained like a lot of interest in the game and played it more and found out that you can like actually macro and beat players who can't macro, and that was fun because hey, I'm better than you
Hmm.
mentality when you're young. And I met a guy from South Korea, surprise, surprise, in high school, who was really good at StarCraft.
Yeah.
And he had a clan and he wanted me to join it. And there was like a requirement for some weird reason that you had to have a Latin name of an animal as your nickname.
That sounds so. I
It's
don't
so
know.
random, but it's like the things that happen.
It goes back to what we were talking about as far as the old Korean pro gamers just picking
Yes,
random names. Is this like a
exactly.
thing? Oh my god, maybe there is something that we don't know about that we're gonna find out today.
I found a Korean player today called Pig Baby. I love that nickname. Pig Baby is great.
Protoss player, right? Right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
He's
remember. I
really
just saw the
good.
name. Yeah. But yeah, so I called myself Siphius because Siphius is swordfish in Latin,
Oh,
and it
that's
That I
started
did
funny.
with
know. I did research that.
and it started with an X, so it was really cool, and I love that. And then so I called myself Siphius for a long time, and then about uh 8 years ago, 7 8 years ago, like 2014, something like that.
Can't
I'm
believe
maybe
it's
off
that
here.
long. No, but it's
Yeah, I
crazy
know.
to even think that that was 8 years
Yeah,
ago.
I know it's crazy. I'm so old, but yeah, I I started speedrunning, and I wanted to make a Twitch channel to document my speedruns, and I wanted to use Siphius as my Twitch name, and it was taken. And
No.
instead of like a reasonable normal person who does like Sir Siphius, like a tasteless thing, or like Siphius underscore or something, I
Yep.
was like, I need a new nickname.
And that's where it all began.
Yeah, that's when it began. So it's the first one Dominic cast. But yeah, I went for Kanban. I don't to this day
That's what you
like
got on your Discord right now, I believe, right? As a
yeah. No, that's on my
next to it.
Twitch. Yeah, that's still on my
Oh.
Twitch. Kanban 85, and I put an 85 after Kanban. I don't know why I couldn't do that after Siphius. But yeah, um, because at the time I realized, oh, Kanbaning is making a product specifically for the end user instead of mass production. That's kind of what I'll be doing on my stream. I was very trying to be very sophisticated, although the name sounds horrible because it's a stupid rhyme, right? Kanban,
I like
you know.
it.
Anyway,
Can
so I
ban
was
because if somebody acts up in your Twitch chat, guess what you can do?
right. You got to
Can
can
ban them.
ban him. Yeah,
Bam.
right. Yeah, can ban get ban. Yeah. Anyway, so that was the joke in some Twitch channels. But yeah, so I used Kanban for speedrunning. Um, and then when I started playing Counter Strike, and that was like 4 years ago or something. I blame December's Com Travis for that. He introduced me to
Yep.
Counter Strike. Yeah, and I went with Siphius in on Steam, right? And then I started actually playing it, and like this is a team game, and you need to communicate. And people look at Siphius, and they're like,
Oh.
how do I pronounce that, right?
And by the
So I
time
was
they
like,
realize it, oh.
yeah, and I didn't want to be called Kanban because it sounds weird when people say it out loud. So I was like, I need a new name, and I was just making up all sorts of crazy names because I was playing with a group of older British gents, and we were having a team together. I was kind of teaching them how to play because they were all old and didn't new to the game, and we were all like
Mhm.
happy to not play with 12-year-old kids, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So we were like learning smokes and stuff, and we were just having fun with different types of. I was just having fun trying out different types of nicknames. I remember I was Cryptic Spoon for a while. I thought that was a funny name, and then I was Suspicious Fork, and then um
So there's more.
I was something sandwich. Crap, I don't remember. There
So
was
maybe it was
something.
a swordfish sandwich, perhaps.
No, it was. Crap, I don't remember. It was something in front of sandwich.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny. It was just kind of two words that don't really go well together. And then they just called me sandwich because they didn't want to say the whole name. And
Zippy
then
sandwich, and they're like, wait a
yeah,
minute.
yeah, that's too long. So they just said sandwich, and I was like, you know what? They can just call me sandwich. And it just kind of stuck when I was playing Counter Strike. So now I also have sandwich in there, and that's what I called my YouTube channel. I was like, because I have a YouTube channel, I have a Twitter, I have a Twitch, and I was like, okay, I kind of need to like
Get the
get some sort of branding going on. It's not like I'm trying to be a huge content creator or anything. I have like not really time for that, but I do make a video from time to time, and it's nice to have a brand. So I was like, I'm just gonna go all in on sandwich now because nobody
hey,
knows what Stiffius is. So like, I'm Sandwich TV on YouTube now. It's like, yeah, I have a logo and everything, right? So yeah, there we
all right, follow my man Sandwich on it, man.
go.
Sandwich
Yeah,
TV. Actually,
yeah,
I was curious about what games you speedrunned or spedrun. What do you
yeah.
say?
I have speedrun. I
I
don't
don't
even
know.
know what the
Speedran.
past tense of that is, but I have. It's been mostly a game called Braid. I don't know if you heard of Braid.
I have. It came in a humble bundle once.
Yeah,
I think yeah.
it's a puzzle platformer kind of game with time rewind as its game mechanic, kind of main game mechanic. Um, I have done some other like indie platformers, but not to the same extent. But I did speedrun Braid for at least 2 years, maybe 3 years
Damn.
for a while, and yeah, it was kind of actually. Let me tell you the story of Kanban speedrunning. I'm Kanban when I'm speedrunning, right? So
Gotcha.
no, I remember I was watching Awesome Games Done Quick, one of the not the very first one, but one of the early ones. If you don't know what Awesome Games Done Quick is, just
Oh,
look it up.
AGD. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, look it up and get a life. No, sorry, but like, then, sorry, you need to know
I
what that
love
is.
it. Oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. So I was watching one of the early ones. It was like 2012 or something, like just like a year after it came out, and they had a guy. I think they kind of like just told the guy, "Hey, we should show off Braid. It's kind of a cool speedrun. Can you speedrun Braid?" Kind of thing. They would never do that now. Now it would be someone submitting, "Hey, I have world record in this game,"
And
right? You
that's
know what
how
I mean?
they do it.
Yeah, but this
Okay.
is way back then. And then so I watched it and it was okay, but I just played Braid myself. I just finished it. I have a good friend who gifted it to me because he thought I'd like it, and I was like, I think I can play the game faster than he did. So I just
That's good.
tried, and after a couple of tries, I did. And then I found the speedrunning community for it, and I started learning some tricks. And then this is at the same time they started doing a European marathon called European Speedster Assembly. It was very new. It's like a
Okay.
Swedish marathon. It's like the Swedish version of AGGQ, but it's much smaller.
Smaller, yeah.
And I
Oh wow.
submitted like, hey, I can speedrun Braid for them. Traveling to Sweden, I can do that. That's not that far, right? And they accepted it. And I was like, oh crap, I really got to learn this. And I
You're
did.
like,
And so the Austin Games Done quick run was like 39 minutes or something, and my Swedish speedrun was 27 minutes.
dang. Okay.
Mm.
And it
Wow.
wasn't close to the world record at the time because none of the actual speedrunners had really been to one of these events. It was just kind of other random guys. It was kind of weird back then. And but the reception was great. Like people loved that speedrun, and like I suddenly got a bunch of followers on Twitch, and I was like, wow, oh, okay, because I was kind of like, well, this is as good as it's gonna get for me. I'm kind of done, you know. But then I got all that reception. I was like, oh, maybe I should try and get this faster. And it took me like another 2 years or so before I finally beat the world record. It took forever, but I had the world record on Braid for like a couple of no, did I have it for actually? You know what? I'm gonna look
Hmm.
this up right now.
He's like, I need to know.
I need to know.
Well, while you look it up, I just want to remind people, of course, that they can, of course, check out the giveaways that we are doing right now. One is on Twitter at our Gates of Pyre Twitter, and it's for a keyboard, man. Everybody needs a keyboard. And then, of course, the key giveaway for the alpha, if you type in exclamation raffle in chat. And also, I got to give a big shout out to my boy Big Jon that you see drawn on the screen, man. For those that don't know, this
Hey,
guy, very talented artist.
what's up, guys?
Nice. Yeah. It was. I think I had it for about 2 years actually. The record.
Oh
Um,
wow, nice.
and then I actually tried to claw myself into having the record in every category. And then there's a German guy who just calls himself German, who's actually a good friend of mine now. He beat me in every single category,
Oh
and
no.
that's how it is today. So if you
The
go to the
humble pie.
yeah, if you go to the Braid leaderboard, like you can see like first and second place is always him and me, and then everyone else is kind of random, like different people. But first and second place is like he's first, I'm second, he's first, I'm second, every single category.
Yeah.
And I've long given up trying to do that again. Uh, but
You
yeah,
get to a point. You gotta like really dedicate like
yeah,
everything to it, right? I
yeah,
think.
it's insane. Speedrunning is insane, but it's a lot of fun. I learned a lot of things about myself from that, so that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking about yourself and learning and becoming part of this company, how did we get blessed with the legendary Joakim? Like I know you might say yes when a mommy and daddy love themselves, right?
Yeah,
But
we
no,
don't
I
we don't have
meant
to go all the way back there.
I meant yeah, as far as yeah, your introduction to SunSpear Games.
Yeah, it's also a longer story. Well, it started a while back, but yeah, I kind of have to talk about Starbow to
For
talk
sure.
about this. But yeah, so I discovered Starbow like 2012, 2013, something like that. Um, and basically there was a Team Liquid thread discussing I think it was pathing, unit pathing.
Okay.
Because okay, well actually let's go even further back.
Sure.
So loved StarCraft all my life, basically. StarCraft 2 came out, and it was fun. It was great. But there were like a couple of things where I was like, but I kind of miss this from Brood War. Like, I wish they hadn't taken away the Vulture, for example. I wish the Lurkers were
Yeah.
in the game. Things like that. I was like,
Dragoon pathing, right?
well, maybe not as much. But but there was like, and there was also like it felt like different in terms of pacing and like how important macro and how important expansion was, and it just felt a little bit different. And And then I was reading a thread about pathing, and then someone mentioned that Starbow has different pathing, and I was like, "What the heck is Starbow?" And I found it, and I found the Starbow thread, and the original creator of Starbow is a great guy named well, he calls himself Cable or Cable Gossen or just Gossen. He's also a man on many names, but he's Swedish.
Okay.
Um, and I started paying attention to that mod and trying it out and just loving it because it was kind of bringing back all of those elements I was kind of missing from the original Brood War, but it was
Yeah.
still trying to be its own thing. It wasn't trying to just copy Brood War, but it was more, it felt more of an expansion to Brood War than it did as a new game completely, if that
Where
makes sense.
StarCraft 2 felt more, yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Like it had more like a spiritual successor, right? Where it
Yes.
keeps all of the elements that really make Brood War stand out with its imperfections that make it, you know,
Yeah.
perfect, I guess, if you will.
And it was very different back then, as well, compared to what it kind of ended up being. It went through a lot of experimental stages. A lot of people remember Starbow as like the, oh, it's almost like Brood War with a little bit of different, but back then it was very different from Brood War. Um, but I kind of got really involved in that community. I don't like, my personality is I don't play a lot of different games, but as soon as I play a game, I stick with it and I want to be like, see how good I can become at something, either by just like good at like playing or just good in terms of being part of a
Something.
community and building it. Um, yeah,
What would you
that's
say?
never
Yeah.
stopped. But yeah, so found Starbow. I got really involved in the community. I kind of became like a community manager, well, architect, I guess. Uh,
Yes.
uh, just by like by default, there was no roles, there was no job. It was just a small group of people. But I was kind of organizing. I started organizing tournaments. I started getting new people into the game. I came up with a lot of suggestions for the uh, creator about things we wanted to do and stuff. So yeah, so that happened, and then at some point, I don't remember exactly when, Travis was also interested in Starbow. I think he may have been there before I even joined. I don't even remember.
Oh, so you
Uh,
guys met, yeah, in the
yeah,
Starbow community.
yes. We met in
Gotcha.
the Starbow community, and Travis also was starting to learn the StarCraft 2 map editor really well, and he was kind of helping Cable with that. Um, and then when Starbow actually, okay, so for people who don't know this, Starbow for the longest time was just like 20 people playing together, having fun, doing whatever. And then Total Biscuit like wrote one post in our forum. It's like, hey, this mod is really cool. I don't remember exactly what he said, but something like that.
Yes.
And and we were all like freaking out, like, oh,
Like
Total Biscuit
acknowledged.
knows about us, right?
You're
Yeah.
thinking it's like a troll account possibly,
Yeah, yeah, and
and
yeah, we were checking. We were checking. Is that the real Total? Like, you could check the account on Team Liquid, right? And then, um, yes, and it's like, wow, and at the time he had the Axiom team in South Korea, right? The StarCraft 2 Pro team, and that's when he had like two of them. I don't remember actually which one of them it was now. Two of them play like a Zerg versus Terran versus each other. Really cool map, a really cool game on a specific map just made for Starbow as well, called Texas. And it was an epic game with lurkers and everything. And this was exactly around the same time as the Swarm host era of Heart of the Swarm,
oh
Swarm host
man.
Infestor. Yeah, so
S-
everyone was craving for something different, right? Everyone was like kind of a little bit leaving StarCraft 2, right? And they
Dead
saw
game,
this like
dead game.
really refreshing game with a lot of back and forth going on, a lot of expanding happening, and they're like, "Oh, this is great!" And everyone was like on the hype train, and we were not ready for that at all. Like we were in the middle of like changing how the game was working, and we were like, "Yeah, this was like it's like if people just suddenly just flooded the alpha right now, right, and just
Right.
like expected nothing to change, right?" Um,
Oh man, that's such a crazy like
yeah,
kind of connection.
it is. So I had Twitch and Racer contact me. They wanted to like sponsor tournaments. Like, it was crazy. And this was actually the same time that the original creator was actually on his way out. He was kind of like done because it was the experimental part was kind of done. So he didn't want to do a lot of polish. So he was like, I'm out of this. So I suggested to him that we make like a team of developers that are like kind of continue the game, and I would be part of that team. And so Travis was in there, I was in there, a couple other guys was in there, and it kind of shifted out who was in there, and that's kind of how it continued from there. So,
Wow.
and I also, this is around the same time that Dylan and Coulter was working on the. I think Coulter was. I know Dylan was doing it. I don't remember if Coulter was in it, but the one goal mod, which was a thing back way back when, that Dylan was
What was it?
working on.
Or at least
The
I don't know.
one one goal mod uh, is a mod that Dylan was working on, and he talked to me that's why I got to meet Dylan as well, because he talked to me and he wanted to have like a collaboration between One Goal and Starbow and see if we could like pull our forces together. And yeah, uh, so yeah, and so I got to meet the whole gang way back then. And then I remember keeping in touch with Travis. we played Counter Strike together. We did all sorts of things together for a while. And I remember him talking about starting the Vanguard project and like hey trying to make it take what we kind of learned and make it a different game. And at the time I was like, ooh, that sounds really really tempting. But at that time I had a wife and like 2 or 3 kids, at least 2 kids,
Yeah.
and I had a stable job. I was working as a math teacher in high school. I was like, I can't just
Do I
I
really
can't just
want to
move to United States and just start a company
give
with
up
you guys.
everything? This is
Yeah, yeah.
Did you
It's
ever
not.
get a chance to interact even like with Big John? Because it's funny because I learned this last Pyreside that this connection of all of y'all, and I didn't know if Big John. Did you ever interact with Joakim? Like even in
No, so the forming of SunSpear of like the modding the early primordial modding days of SunSpear, that was before my time.
uh-huh.
Uh, I joined in with SunSpear, kind of like right after it became like, all right, we're a company. We've got an art director. Now we need someone for the art director to direct,
Right.
and then I joined in. So I actually had not met Joachim until recently because he didn't join in on
Until recently.
SunSpear, yeah, until recently. But it has been really awesome piecing together all the
It's
lore
insane.
from the different, like, for instance, just real quick story time. Like Donovan was part of the project, the modding aspect in like the early days, stuff. Um, way before I joined, and then I joined back in like 2019, or it's like 2019 or 2018. I can't remember. And it was 2018.
Yeah.
I joined in September 2018, and uh, like one day this Donovan guy, Dr. Boson, like showed up in the chats. I was like, hey, who's this guy? Like what? And it was like I can't remember what it was. I think he was talking about uh, the Sapari spear or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is this guy
Talking
talking?
about
Like what? And then eventually, it's like of course now Donovan's like the most amazing creative director slash intern of all time, and it's like it's great. But yeah, it
Man,
was the way that everyone kind of
dude.
was a part of
No.
things and then tied things together and how everything all comes together.
Look,
And
we're
then
here.
yeah, the spider web that I'm a part of is the Skywind spider web, which is a whole other deeply connected um thing.
Yeah. No, that is so
um
interesting to me,
yeah.
man. Ah, damn. Well. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Joachim. I
No
just had
worries.
like this
No worries.
boom, like this hamster in my head. It was just like it needs to
We
do
need to
this
tie
right
it all
now.
together. Yeah,
But
yeah,
you were
for
talking
sure.
about, you were at a point in life where you had a couple kids and you had a wife, but couldn't
Yeah, yeah.
necessarily just drop everything.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been kind of following Sunspear from afar this time, from its very creation until now, or until recently. And like from time to time, Travis would be like, "Hey, can I ask you something?" And he'd like show me some unit or show me some interaction, like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And so I kind of like been not even knowing what I'm consulting on. I've just been kind of and not much at all. It's just been very rare, like maybe once a year or
Like Zard's
something.
math homework. Yeah. No.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and that's been fun. And then about 2 years ago, I quit my teaching job and I started working for an ed tech company. And that was fun. I learned a lot because I moved from like a very stable position to like a scale up company that was like expanding, and it was crazy. It was just, and I became basically like a product manager very quickly, and it was yeah, I learned a lot there, but there were some issues there as well, and I just ended up leaving after a year and a half. And I was kind of like, dude, I'm out of here. I'm just leaving, and
Yeah.
I didn't actually have a job. I just left. And then I was like, Travis, how, how's it going over at Sunspare?
Uh-huh. The spirit of the sun thing.
I kind of need a job now. And I was applying for some teachers positions again, but I didn't really want to teach again because I kind of wanted to do something else.
You
And
got a
they were like,
taste.
yeah, well, let's see what we can do here. And they could do something. So yeah. And dude, it was so amazing having like knowing all these people already, because it wasn't really a question of like, hey, should we hire this guy? It was more like, are you available? Can you work for this salary? Is this going to be okay? It's like, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, then we're fine. It's like, yeah, that was like, oh, nice. That wasn't that difficult. So so yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here, and
that's so sick. Yeah.
yeah, loving it so far.
Seems like a lot of people have a lot of our people that are part of our team and family. It's almost all are connected in some shape or way, shape or form, right? And it's like to hear that unravel is awesome. And I know you just were talking about that other company you had worked for that was a startup,
Scale up.
scalable,
Yeah,
scale
yeah.
up. Sorry.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I'm not gonna ask exactly what project it was, but like, was the work you were doing, stuff that you were like proud of, or was it just the fact that the environment or the speed or I guess higher
No, it
ups maybe?
was, yeah. I'm
Because
not gonna go.
sometimes
I'm not
you
gonna
don't
go
have to go
into.
too much into
No,
detail.
I
I'm sorry.
I can I do want to. Well, what I want to talk about though is that it was great working there, and like the people there was most of them were great, and I learned a lot, like I said, and they were working. It's a ed tech company, and specifically math. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I got hired there as well.
Gotcha.
So and a lot of good things to say about it, but there were a couple of things that
Yeah. You took us. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, here you are at SunSpear Games, and I'm sure everybody's asking the $1 million question of, what? What is a typical day of work like for you? What is it like to be the toaster?
don't don't you dare give me another nickname. I already have too many to balance here now, Tempo.
I'm sorry.
Oh no. Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's I remember I was asking Coulter. Okay, so what happened is I got the job like in July or so, and we kind of talked about I should start in August a little bit, and I kind of needed a long summer break because the time I've had in my last company been incredibly stressful. I just needed
Yeah.
a long break. And then they were like, well, in August, like just put in like 20 hours or something. Just work a little bit in August, and then you start more full in September. And then I was like asking Colt like, what should I do in August with these 20 hours? And he's like, okay, read this document, criticize it if you find anything wrong in it, like familiarize with it,
Yeah.
and just play along.
I
And I was like, oh,
can do
I can
that.
do that.
That sounds like you in a nutshell. Like,
It was so weird. Like I was asking people for games. Yeah, I want to play, and then I was learning, and I met Zard and I met others, and then when I was done, it's like, oh, worked 3 hours today.
uh
It's like
huh. Not a bad gig. Yeah.
not a bad gig. Um, and then of course now things are a little bit different. I've gotten more and more responsibilities. There is a lot of meetings where we decide like okay, so we have like, well, I've actually there is something called design court, but it used to be a lot of meetings kind of in one,
Okay.
and I kind of divided those up into many different meetings because to get it more structured and to make sure we're not wasting people's time. We don't have to be there for the different parts.
Yeah.
So we kind of have like a brainstorming session where we just brainstorm ideas, and then when if we get something good, we move that over to design court where like the different heads of different departments can come in and ratify the idea, make sure we don't like uh make sure we like not going on a quarter with creative, for example. Like if we're making a unit for R, or we're tweaking a unit for R, now it's suddenly now that feels more like a Karath unit now. Like we want to make sure we're not like,
Aligned
yeah,
in.
yeah. So like a lot of those things, and then we have like numbers meetings where we're just going through the detail of numbers. Like, oh, we know this is going to be a strong unit, we know it's going to shoot long but it's going to be slow, but the specific numbers you guys can do in numbers meeting, and that's just me, Donovan, and Travis just
Okay.
chugging through numbers, going through the I'm learning the Unreal Editor to put in some values myself, and I'm still doing a lot of playtesting, and I think it's really important for me because, oh yeah, I haven't really said this, but my main responsibility is what I think we're going to call it deathmatch now, basically 1v1
Yes.
and 2v2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like so formerly known as Conquest, but deathmatch. Yeah, so anything that is player versus player is and has to do with like game design and balance is basically what I'm focusing on.
Yep.
And I feel in order to do my job well, I have to observe a lot of games and have to play a lot of games. Like I can't do that well without having keeping
You
like
gotta,
up.
yeah.
Yeah,
You do a good job about that too, right? And very feedback oriented and just games, just the number, the sheer number, you know, of games that you play.
And I'm thank you, and I'm also used to the whole community interaction from the Starbow. Like Starbow was like a community made game. Like we would have some after a while you'd have like some actual like, hey, we are the designers kind of thing, but it was all like, hey, let's all get together, we have this test we want to try out, why don't we all come and play and see what happens, and oh crap, that's broken, let's tweak some numbers and try again, you know what I mean? So
Okay.
that was so much fun. I love doing that, and that's basically my job now, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I've got to ask about some of the challenges then, right? Because you're kind of on the ground floor, right? And of course, in design too, right? We got to all work together.
Mm.
Um, what are some of the challenges, like when you do run into something that you really feel needs to be tweaked, and maybe somebody else on your team might have a different direction to go because it semi conflicts with creative, or just different or different kind of perspectives, and then really settling on something.
I think I'm not sure if this is answering your question directly, but one of the challenges for me is to like take what I kind of learned from the Starboard project and put it in a more professional environment
Okay.
where we're not like just playing around with the unit finding something fun. We're more like, hey, what's the actual problem space? What are the criteria? What are we trying to solve? What are we like? How are we testing this like more scientifically, if that makes sense?
Yeah,
And
that is.
me just getting used to that way of thinking and that way of working is has been a challenge. It's been a fun challenge. It hasn't been like hard to get through or anything, but
Yeah.
it's been a learning experience because we were back then we were more like just throw stuff on the wall, see what sticks. Hey, I have this crazy idea,
Yeah.
I want to try this out, you know.
Yeah.
um
I think Donovan was talking about that on a different perspective, or like in a whole different aspect of it, as far as getting to a point where it feels good. It doesn't have necessarily have to be perfect, but at least you went through this very kind of, yeah, scientific exploration, if you will, right? And
mm.
then I guess settling on what feels good, or do you feel it's a little bit more goes into that?
There is a lot that goes into that, but it's kind of what you say at the end of the day. We can have a million good or bad ideas, but an idea isn't really good or bad until we've actually tested it and people play it and we get the feedback and like, oh, okay, that sounded horrible on paper, but it actually works, you know,
Okay.
or the other way around. Oh, that
True.
sounds so cool. And then actually, let's just do a quick example. Like the Absolver, the unit, have
Yeah.
this spinning thing that just shoots a million little missiles. Sounds really cool on paper. It's still pretty cool in practice, but you're noticing pretty quickly like this unit doesn't really have any weaknesses, does it? Like, yeah, I gotta shoot longer and I gotta have air units, but it's kind of hard to like. So like, there are some like you're noticing like, oh, that's okay.
This is
I'm not gonna smack down the Absolver too hard. That's not the point here.
No,
That was
do
just
it,
an
man. Tell us
example.
how you really feel about the Absolve.
Yeah.
This has actually been a therapy session about tell you, Joakim, how do you feel?
That
No,
would
but
be really
but
cool.
sure, continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. But yeah, stuff like that though, just like so I think there's a huge benefit from testing things properly and thoroughly, and just like
Yeah.
you said, because at the end of the day, it's the user experience, you know.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I had actually had a question for you where I wanted you to describe what it's like working with your team, and if there was a lot of friction, and how did you absolve it? Sorry. But resolve it, like certain kind of things that happen, or,
no, there's
doesn't
I
seem it.
guess
Yeah.
yeah, it's not that much. There are sometimes some communication challenges, like people are like talking about two different things, but they think they're talking about the same thing, and then we have to resolve that. But Um, sorry,
I'm sorry about
I was just reading what Santa Claus was saying. Why do you have to nerf a unit as soon as they get a tournament win? I'll stay away from Twitch chat for now and focus here. I'm very easily distracted. That's one of my big
Well, Twitch
weaknesses.
chat is good. Santa's there. He's just throwing, wrenches in the.
They've
Yeah,
been memeing this whole time. They're
That's
just so
his.
hard.
that's what Santa
That's what
does.
he does.
I'm
That's
starting to
why
learn
we
this.
encourage you to look at Twitch chat, because it's more of a judgment of
Yeah.
character. Like, is he mentally strong enough to actually survive the Santa Claus?
I also have to say one more thing though that has been really fun has been just because I'm kind of glad I haven't played that much Immortal before I got hired. Uh, because now I could like jump into the game and just like learn it from scratch. Just like what is this thing? Because I knew a couple of things about Vanguard and stuff way back in the day with Travis, but that had all like almost all escaped me. It was so long ago, and I was like, okay, let's just jump. And I hadn't even played RTS games in a while. I've been playing mostly
Okay,
Counter Strike, so I was
true.
like really relearning this. Um, and you only get that experience once learning a new game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's been very useful both for me and for the game design overall, because there was a lot of things I noticed that we've kind of addressed and that we are addressing, and that we're getting good feedback from the community for the changes that I noticed when I started playing the game. So I'm really happy. That's been really fun to like go into the game, notice things, have some a little bit of intuition about, I think we might want to tweak this, and then I would have
But
to
it's not
later
too
figure out
tainted.
like why do I actually think we have to tweak this, because it's just intuition, right? And then it
Hmm.
turns out that some of that intuition at least was actually correct, and that's like very, it's like, hey, I got the right job, I'm actually like, I can actually do this, like, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
you
I
know
mean, speaking of which, though, too, right? Is most recently we just had a patch, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but speaking of patch, if you want to play on it, guess what? You can type exclamation raffle in the chat, and perhaps you could win an alpha key. And also, I always encourage people to check out our Twitter and all of our other social media accounts, as well as the Discord, but specifically Twitter right now. For our tournament that we will be having next week, we will indeed have a giveaway for a keyboard. And if you sign up, you will also be entered to win a headset. But Joakim, yes, this is the first big patch that we've released since you've been on board, correct?
Well,
Or her?
at least that I felt I've influenced significantly, I
Got
think I
you.
would say. Because I think there's been some patches before, but I was just kind of playing and learning, and I wasn't really contributing too much yet. There's of course many things in this patch I haven't like, it's not like my patch or anything like that. I just want to throw that out there. We're a big design team and everyone is contributing. Uh, but yeah, no. One thing I have advocated for heavily is the economy change.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I did pick up from learning the game, is I felt like I just don't have enough stuff. That was kind of the feeling. Like I always have too few units to have fun with. I want to have more stuff more quickly, kind of the feeling I was getting from it. It
Hmm.
may just have been like um I, I hadn't played RTS in a while. I was used to StarCraft. Maybe I was like, maybe it could have been like, oh, I had more stuff when I played StarCraft, But this is a
Okay.
different game, so that's always hard for me to know. If is this something like in general that I feel, or is it just like I'm just missing this from StarCraft, right?
Okay.
Actually, I have an interesting example of that, because
Sure.
we were talking about having leveled upgrades for abilities, like offering is basically that right now. You get like offering on the narrow side, and that's kind of offering level 1, and then you get the offering on the red whale later, and it's kind of offering level 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and
Without
and when
just
that
saying the numbers, right? But it's like
yeah, yeah, it has a different name, but that's basically what it
what
does.
it,
And when
it's like,
that idea came up, that hey, maybe we should just divide offering into two, because that's kind of what's happening already. I remember listening to that and be like, no, that doesn't feel right. That feels wrong. And then I was like, why does that feel wrong? That feels wrong because there was never such a thing in StarCraft. Not because it's bad, but because I have a prejudice against something that isn't StarCraft, and that's like crap.
hmm.
I need to work on that, because
Yeah.
many other RTS games have like different tiers for abilities, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It can be quite interesting, but I was like feeling it because it wasn't in StarCraft. So I need to like separate what like I feel is bad game design and what, no, this isn't StarCraft. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta
No, that's
that
big,
that's challenging. Yeah.
especially at a design. Like, yeah, to differentiate that, because one of the things that I do notice as well, in Discord with new players is they'll literally compare every little thing to StarCraft, right?
Yeah,
Right? And
yeah.
it's like this, that. Well, this isn't StarCraft. This
Yeah,
isn't.
this is a different game, and we gotta like, yeah, that's like I am doing a lot of comparisons still, because we're looking at the economy, right? And that's a interesting game to compare with. But at the same time, like, oh, we alloy and minerals aren't lining up perfectly, yada yada. Like, but that's not the point. We have to kind of design the game for what it is and what it is doing, and like move it from there. Like, what does do, is are you ether starved too much in this game? Do we need to increase the ether count, right? That's the kind of questions we have to ask, instead of hey, what was the gas to in like in StarCraft, like, yeah, it's
Just got to believe you can make a better game, right? And use your own
yeah,
intuition to, or at least a different game, right? That makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
And I think that should be the number one goal. That's just
for sure.
my opinion, but I think you're doing a good job with it too. And just taking all of your other experiences and applying them, but not to the point that you are making that game. So
Thank you.
But
Appreciate that.
either way, I think we got Big John. He froze up, right? He's okay, guys. He is
Oh,
fine. His power did indeed go out, so I did want to be honest and transparent. But if you notice why he stopped writing or drawing, rather, it is because he is in the darkness right now. But the show will go on. We will. I did want to actually ask you a cool question that well, you inspired this question, and I just wanted to hear it about how cool it is to see your hard work come to life in
oh
video
yeah.
game form.
That is so cool. Yeah, I actually like. So this patch took a while because there were some technical difficulties to getting it out, right? Because we wanted to get this out earlier. And when it finally dropped, I was surprised how like awesome it felt to have like. Because I was just like, oh, we need a patch because I want to play. Because people were playing on the old patch, and I knew all the cool things that was coming, and I was like, I don't really want to play on the old patch because I want to play with all the new stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I was just waiting for the patch to finally drop, but I wasn't like ready for like the feeling of like, oh, I did, I I
I
made
did.
some of this, I did
I
some of this,
helped.
right? And I helped, yeah, and like I made this, and it feels good. Actually, sorry, can I digress on a completely
Go for
different
it.
story?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
encourage it.
Okay, so way back when I was 19, I needed some money, and a friend of mine was, um, crap, what's it called? A masoning, like you're building with bricks, right?
Yeah,
Masonry.
I got
Yeah.
you.
He was he was redoing a whole steeple on a church, right?
Okay,
So he took down all the old bricks and he had to lay new bricks. And he was asking if I wanted to help him and earn some money. And I was like, sure, I need money.
why not? You
So
look
it
like a big, strong person. Yeah.
anyway, and it was like, dude, that was so scary. He had scaffolding that was 12 stories high going around the
Dang.
steeple, and the steeple got more and more narrow, but the scaffolding didn't. So the higher up you were, the more distance you had to lean forward, and you could just see straight down 12 stories, right? And the
Yeah.
wind was blowing, and the whole scaffolding was like doing like this, and like, holy crap, I was scared. But sorry, that's not the point. The point is, every time I drive past that church today, I'm like, I built that. I built that steeple. That steeple is mine. You know what I mean?
I didn't die. The steeple is there,
Yes.
and
And that's
wow.
such a great feeling. I love creating stuff. I've always
Yeah.
loved doing that. And then my last job too, like we made a lot of math instructional videos and made a lot of stuff like that. And like every time I can look at those, like I wrote the script for that video, right?
To
And
actually, yeah, I know that
yeah,
feeling as a
yeah, yeah.
digital creator and
I think
music,
you
like
may
to
know. Hey,
feel it.
I made that song, right?
It's
And people
awesome.
like that song.
That's
It's
another
awesome.
thing. That's another
Yeah,
thing to get feedback and
yeah,
have it be, sometimes constructive, but hey, no pun intended. But it would be something that like you're actually proud of, right?
for sure.
So yeah, Jesus. I couldn't even imagine, right? I'm not even afraid of heights, and I do a lot of daredevil stuff, but the idea of just standing and walking, like, and looking down and being like, "What am I like? Is this worth it?" And then you do it, and it's like, okay, you know what?
If I was being offered that today, it would definitely not have been worth it. But back in the day,
Desperate
it was.
times, desperate
Yeah,
times.
yeah, for sure. Crap. But yeah, no, but yeah, I love and basically almost every job there is out there is a creation job. But I think that may be why I was not like. I think that's one of the reasons I ended up not being a teacher anymore, is because it was really hard to just point at something and say like I did that. Because
Yeah.
like sure you can like, all my windows minimized for a second there for some stupid reason. Anyway,
Oh, that's good.
um but yeah, like you can of course say, hey, I influenced this person, or this, I meant something for this person's life, and that's super important, don't get me wrong, but it's so hard to like pinpoint, like, did I
What?
actually make a difference? Like, did have I actually, after like a class that you felt went really horrible, and you're like, was there even any point for me doing that? You know
But
what I mean?
yeah, did I make it
Yeah,
worse even, right?
yeah, maybe I did, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's definitely a tough one. But I think as well, right? To have different perspectives and different, I guess, experiences, right? Like you're almost like teaching through your own experiences when you do have a decision or design decision, right? Where it's, I want people to see that like this idea that I have at least might contradict what it is that you previously thought was good, and now you feel like a different way because of the fact that you never would have experienced it if I hadn't gone through it myself, which is really weird, I think, to say. A little bit convoluted, but
No, no, but it is important to like no matter what experiences you have to try and learn from them, right? To try
Mm-hmm.
and see what's a good thing. Like like actually like my last job is interesting because although some of the experiences there were a bit challenging, I did kind of get my feet into the world of private companies, if that makes sense. Like
Yes.
I've been a teacher like I went to school and then I was a teacher and everything was safe and nice and calm and you had never had anything on the line really, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
scale up company where like stock options and everything on.
Yes.
Okay, well, how do I like and just and it's kind of helped me to realize that you know what I can actually have like projects I can do things that can be a little bit risky but you know uh if I don't try things I'm gonna regret it later on, you know
For
what I mean?
sure. I'm the same way. Yeah. Because security is one thing, and a lot of people prefer that. But geez, to be able to take a risk and have it pay off is just, yeah. I don't think you can really measure that, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm still waiting for to see how much or how little things pays off in the end, but yeah, but it is and of course you got to enjoy the journey as well for
for
sure.
sure. All right. Well, we're getting towards the end, but I know since you play quite a bit, you have a lot of experience with all of the immortals. I wanted to ask what your favorite one to play in command was first. So, in the
All right.
gameplay, when you're playing it, what feels the best to you, just from a gameplay perspective?
That's a difficult question. I think, unfortunately, I have like one I like the least, and that is Ajari.
Okay.
Uh, and I think it is because to play Ajari well, you really have to like be really ballsy and send out your units constantly and like and lose them in an effective way every time. And I'm so bad at that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of I like the macro aspect. I like the I really like Orzen because you know expand
Yep. It's very
and
straight. Like,
protect.
okay.
But I also
Expand and
like
protect.
yeah, I also like Mala. I would like to have the offering the quick units. So I think Mala and Orsum are my two favorites. I've tried to learn Soul. Soul is super hard to play. All the best players are
Different, yeah.
really good at Soul, but the bad players are horrible at Soul. It's like super high, like super,
You're like, am
and
I bad? And you're like, no, I don't think. Yeah.
I am not the best player, so Soul is difficult for me. But I would if I knew how to play Soul well, I think Soul would be my
Your
favorite
favorite?
for sure.
Oh,
Yeah, but it's yeah. So, but I like how they all have their different niches, and it's fun to see that Ajari specifically seems to be very either people hate playing Ajari or love playing Ajari. It feels, and I love that. I love having one immortal that is like that. That
like that?
only caters to a little bit more special interest kind of thing.
Yeah, that reminds me of my relationship with the Watcher in a game called Slay the Spire. Okay,
Ah,
so there's a character in this game. It's a card game, a card roguelike, and almost everyone that I talk to is like, "Yeah, man, I can play every single character in that game, but Watcher, screw that character. I don't get it. It's stupid. It's dumb." And I'm like, That's the first character that I beat the game with and got to like Ascension 20 with, which is like a very high level, and it's the one that like almost makes the most sense to me, and I have the best win record with. So I can kind of relate to that, where it's like, thank you for making Watch It, but even though everybody else hates it, it caters to me.
someone's gonna love it. I had a little revelation the other day because uh, I've always looked at myself as someone who likes strategy games and I like to think a lot and math and yada yada, right?
Hmm.
And what's funny is that um again, sorry comparing StarCraft, but like especially back in Brood War, I feel like Brood War is like 95% mechanics and then
Yeah,
like 5% strategy. Like it's only strategy once you're good enough
get to
with
that
the
level.
mechanics.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
5% of the strategy is Yeah,
yeah,
crazy. Because yeah,
yeah. And that's and I noticed when I started playing this game that it felt even harder than StarCraft because every single decision I make is a strategic decision. And that
yeah,
was so new for me.
different.
I'm so used to like, yeah, just show me the builder I need to learn.
Pretty
And
much,
I'll
yeah.
yeah, and I'll use my superior mechanical skills to just do that builder better than my opponent and just win that way. That's kind of how I'm used to do. And I noticed with other games I play too, like when I was speedrunning is the same. It's like 95% mechanics. It's like playing the piano. Like you just had to
You just
remember.
need to do it over and over and make the
Yeah,
least mistakes.
yeah, and sometimes you like optimize to find a better strategy or something, but I'm not the speedrunner who was like finding all the glitches and stuff. I let other people do that.
Yeah.
I just tuned mechanics. So I'm noticing I'm not really a strategic player. I'm a mechanical player. I love learning a mechanic and just so it's it's been hard for me to move over to Immortal and like, oh, I gotta make these decisions all the time, you know.
Uh-huh. Not
And
only
that, but it's
professionally, but
yeah, it's good for me though. But it's also interesting. It is a different kind of beast, and I like
damn.
it. Yeah.
Oh, Joakim, I'm so glad that we were able to do this because I know I wanted to last month, but I double booked like a fool. But I'm glad that you were still on board too, and that your wife hopefully didn't get too mad at you for
No,
staying
no,
up.
it's fine.
But yeah, I guess we are gonna be wrapping it up. I don't know if there's any last final words you want to leave with our wonderful community, or just closing thoughts.
I want to compliment them. They're great. Holy crap, this community is awesome. I feel a bit spoiled because I feel every time I try to either like make a community or enter a community, and because I'm usually a very niche person. I like weird niche projects. Like I was speedrunning, but I was speedrunning Braid, which is very niche. Like
True. Yeah. Yeah.
and like what I'm doing now in Counter Strike on my spare time is also part of a really niche community, and they're also great. But like I've been so um, blessed, I guess, with just great communities, and the Immortal community is just awesome, and the feedback they give and the way they helped each other, is
Yeah. It's
great.
something. It's something else.
And I wanna just shout it out there that if anyone has any thoughts about like, hey, you changed this, why did you do that, or I think we should have done this instead, or this feels great, or this feels bad, just ping me, just send me a message.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
in
very vocal, and
I'm in
even
the
in
Discord.
even
Yeah.
yeah, even in like our internal play test too, like is amazing. So he's usually the guy I go to, like, yo, man, what do you want us to test, man? Like probably has the most insight on the ground level there. So man, it's been a pleasure, dude. Love from the east
Likewise.
coast of the United States all the way to Norway.
Can you
So
drive there? Maybe you can one day.
I don't know, not yet, right? I mean, I don't have an Aquamobile just yet, but I think hopefully, yeah, if we're as successful as I think that we're gonna be as a game, then I'll be able to buy one easy peasy. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's the bar we're setting.
Yeah, right.
If we can drive to Norway, we've been successful. I like it.
Oh, well, we're gonna wrap it up with our giveaway. So, I believe Kip may have the winners by now. We're probably gonna close up the raffle as we do wrap up here, guys. But yeah, this has been Joakim. You see him, um, Ziphius. I'm gonna say is probably the one that you most recognize him as. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But I'll let you do the, or at least make the decision of what you decide to, what name you decide to choose for.
Yeah, Cepheus is fine for anything RTS related. I always use Cepheus, so that's just fine here. If you want to check out my YouTube, check Sandwich TV, I suppose. I do all sorts of very different things there. But yeah,
Cool. Yeah,
yeah.
that's actually awesome.
Mm.
Another fellow content creator, except you're a little bit more active. I'm gonna try to get back anyway. All
I love
right.
it.
Well, oh, look at that. We got ourselves the winners.
We do.
All right. So congratulations to YJ Zhao. We got Mar Zoli, Morksali. I'm gonna butcher everybody's name, by the way. The Santa Claus, Erelem, and Zardasil. Grabbing those keys. He goes, "Wow, I've won a key. Surprise!" Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will have another one next month. It shouldn't conflict with any holidays or anything like that, so that's good. And I'll announce who our guest will be and the exact date, but it should be about a month from this Friday. So yeah, big thank you to Ziphius for joining us today. Huge shout out to Kip also, because he's the guy behind the scenes. You don't see all the magic that he's doing, right? With the production, even just with the raffle and also crisis management, like when Big Jon's power went out, who is another guy that I gotta give a huge shout out to. And I really, really hope that he didn't lose that the progress on that art that he was working on. So until we meet again next month, have an awesome time. GG's, treat each other well, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
Take care.
Bye bye.